Welcome back, fellow Witchers. I think we're all Witchers, Toasty. I think all of us are Witchers. And this is the podcast you listen to when you want to become an even better Witcher, right? That's how this goes. I'm your host, Tom or Robots, and this is my buddy Toasty looking at me with a really weird expression because my intros are always the best. But we're back and welcome. It's Monday night on twitch.tv/robots radio at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we are continuing our talk about the schools of the Witchers with the schools of the Wolf and some discussion about the new Monster Slayer game. Toasty, have you been playing Monster Slayer?
Nope, not at all.
Nope, not at all.
I'm not interested.
Then who the heck is sending me all these packages from your account? Because I need to figure out who that is.
I must have been hacked. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So, yeah. So, hey, this is what we're going to do on this episode. First, we're going to start out with some Monster Slayer talk. Then in the middle of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the new trailer we got with Sexy Vesemir in the Witcher Netflix anime. And then the second half of the show is going to be all about the schools of the wolf. Schools of the wolf, Toasty? Plural?
School of the wolf, my bad.
Okay, I didn't know if you were totally sneaking in some details in here that I wasn't aware of. I was like, wait a minute.
I started the outline and I was like, we're going to do all the schools. And then I was like, oh no, we're not going to do all the schools on one episode. It's impossible.
That makes sense. Okay, I just read that and I was like, wait a minute. Is there a second school of the wolf that I wasn't aware of? This is hot news. But no, don't get too excited. So let's start talking about Monster Slayer. What did you think?
Well, I had a little part because I wanted to hear what you said first because I had some very specific points.
Sure, I can say. I can open it up. Okay.
Although I know you're not feeling good, so if you don't want to,
yeah. So I apologize if I don't sound great. I woke up this morning with a sore throat and had to take my son to the doctor and get him checked out because he was having a harder time breathing than I was. But turns out that he and I clearly have the same thing, and he doesn't have strep throat or COVID. So we're good. It's just some sort of cold. But yeah, if I sound crappy or low energy at any point, I apologize. So let's see. You and I both downloaded this like right when it was available, and we opened it up, and it's for those of you who haven't played Monster Slayer yet on your phones, it's free, so go check it out. Absolutely easy to pick up and to start playing. It's the kind of game where you like swing your swords at the enemy. You can cast a sign once it's ready. You can also fill up your critical meter, and then there's a symbol that moves down, and if it overlays the other symbol and you click it right at the right time, you get like a really solid hit on the enemy. You can do strong attacks, you can do quick attacks. Overall, the combat is good. It's tricky. You have to be quick to block. How do you feel about the blocking?
So it's weird because it's different per enemy, and some enemies have different attacks, which kind of throws me off. Most of the time it's just the same attack, but like enemies like griffins do two different kinds of attacks and other things. Normally, whenever the sign comes up above their head, like the little mark that they're going to attack you is whenever I start holding for a parry, and normally it's like right on time.
Yeah.
Occasionally there's an attack they have that's really quick and it'll get me beforehand. But most of the time I get the perfect parry if I do it right when that mark shows up.
Interesting. Yeah. Every monster has kind of a different tell for when it's about to attack. Some of them like rear back and then come forward. They all move a little bit differently. So the more you fight a specific type of monster, the more you get used to their patterns. Which makes sense. There's a lot of like just actual skill involved in that. But then you get different abilities and different weapons, and you unlock skills and things like that. It's pretty cool. Also, you fight the monsters that are around you. So if you're able to, I would recommend get in a car and drive around. Then you're going to be able to fight lots of different monsters and then fulfill your quests and things, because quests are roughly a mile or two away from where you are, is what I would estimate, about a mile or two away usually. What do you think? Closer than that?
I haven't done a lot. I think they're a bit closer typically, but I've only done like a couple of them. And
far the ones
the
I'm
second
getting,
one I did was super close.
Really,
the
ones that I get pop up enough of a distance away that I wouldn't, especially during the summer, it being so hot here in Florida, I wouldn't want to walk to it. I could hop on my bike and ride, and it would take me about 5 minutes to get there. So a good mile or two seems to be about the range that they spawn away from me when they show up. So, but that's just, again, this is just really early playing this stuff. I also, I think I must live on a monster nest, because at no point do I ever open up the app and at my house don't have 2 or 3 or more monsters to be able to fight at any time.
Must be nice.
Yeah, they're just like right there. But some of the monsters are too hard because I just don't have the gear for them yet.
Fair enough.
But I wish there were ways to fulfill the quests without having to travel, because sometimes I just I play these games often from the comfort of my home because I don't want to go out. Like I'm on my couch playing a game while my wife's watching a show or something. I wish there were ways to complete quests without having to travel, but maybe at like reduced rewards. So I think that might be a cool way to do it. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
All right, so I had a few thoughts here. I thought was interesting, and one of the first things I thought, as I opened my app for the first time and got that lovely little message of we're doing system maintenance and it won't be ready until 7 a.m. Because granted, this was like 3 a.m. when I got up for work.
Well, yeah, you get up at like god awful hours, so
yeah. Well,
to be
then I opened it at 7 a.m. and they were like, "We're doing system maintenance. It won't be ready until 9 a.m." And I was like, "Okay, I'm done. Stop it." But once I was able to finally get into the game, I noticed that because they ask you to pick a character avatar, and there's female options.
Yeah, there are.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, Witchers, like in the Witcher lore, that females cannot be Witchers. The mutations, something about the mutations and the female, like DNA or their genetics, just doesn't work.
Yeah, we talked about this on a previous episode. Yeah, if you're interested in a little bit more detail about that, go back about 2 episodes. We covered that pretty solidly. Yeah, so I thought that was a surprise too. But I thought
it was interesting. I mean, I thought it made sense.
Because I get it from an inclusivity point, especially for people who aren't lore buffs. Like there's probably people who are like, well, this is dumb. Why can't I be a girl? I'm a girl. Like that makes sense. Like, why do boys get it, but girls don't? Like, stupid boys.
Yeah. And I'm sure there'd be some people that got really upset if they didn't. I mean, even if they did, I'm sure they'd. So it made sense. I picked a female avatar.
Yeah.
So,
and for all intents and purposes, in The Witcher 3, Ciri, although she has other abilities, plays very similar to Geralt when it comes to fighting monsters and things. Like she's just as adept at using a sword, but she can like teleport around, so she's actually even better at it. She was raised and trained as a Witcher, but she just didn't get the mutations. Exactly. Right.
The second thing I noticed was that it actually was a lot of similarities to The Witcher 3, like a surprising amount of similarities for a mobile game. And I wanted to talk about the specific points on this, specifically the skill system, the crafting system, and then the inventory / equipment. And
the models, the monster models are very similar, and the textures are very similar. Even like the gear, like the the equipment that you can wear, like the the armor of the wolf or whatever. All of that gear looks very similar to The Witcher 3.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the skill system was about exactly the same. It's a bit different, a bit more streamlined, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't gone through and looked at everything because it's a little bit before you can really get into some of these abilities. Like you have the first line on all of them, and then you can't get any more until you reach level 10. So you kind of have to wait a little bit before you can get any of these. But we see the same like split into combat, alchemy, and signs. And then the combat one was really close because we had the same like 5 points into like boosting your fast attack or the strong attack, or I'm not sure what the third one is, some sort of like critical hit saver, which basically is like the same as like saving your adrenaline in Witcher 3, those kinds of abilities. And then The signs are really different because apparently you're only allowed to have Igni until you reach level 10.
Yeah, right. Well, it makes sense though. It keeps things simpler on a phone UI than to have to like switch between them, especially early in the game because you have to focus on actually like parrying the enemies, especially if you're trying to hit something that's a little bit more difficult than just like bottom level enemies. So with that being the focus, I can see why you would kind of hold off on some of the other systems a little bit.
And then the crafting system is pretty simplified, but still kind of has that same feeling. You only really have like herbs and roots that you can collect. There's little like bushes that you can like tap on. You get herbs and roots from them, or you get them from quests or packages that you send your buddies.
Yeah.
And then you get monster parts and things from killing different monsters.
Right. I want to chime in, especially about this whole sending packages to your buddies thing. This is a game where you want to have friends because there are certain things that you get from monsters that you can't use. So you might be waiting to get herbs because that's an ingredient for crafting potions or something, but you get a package of herbs, but you're only able to give it to someone else. So it incentivizes having friends to play with and so Toasty and I, like 2 or 3 times a day, we'll just send each other a package. Like every time I open my phone, I'm like, oh, I got another package from Toasty. All right, here you go. You get one of my packages. And the more people you have, and by the little side recommendation here, if you're looking for people to play this game with, jump on our Discord. People are sharing their friend codes. And so you can have very easily, half a dozen people to just kind of share stuff back and forth with.
Do.
Right now. You could easily just go do that. So, and I need to go update that. So if you guys are like, hey, how come Tom isn't friendly? I just haven't done it. I've been busy. Things have been busy today. But I need to, and I'm going to do that very soon. So just wanted to note that helps you. If you're wondering why you can't get the resources you need to craft things, it's because you need friends.
Yeah. And you want to craft things because you need to use your equipment like a lot more. Like some of the smaller enemies, like ghouls and like pixies and like those like smaller enemies, like I normally don't have an issue. I just don't put anything on. I just switch between like the silver sword or the steel sword, and just attack them normally. But like once you start getting stuff with like skulls on them, like I've defeated one owl ghoul. Owl ghouls are like the bane of my existence. I just can't with those because they hit so hard. Even if you parry, you're only guaranteed to live 4 hits and they just do not take enough damage. So you have to like use your potions and oils and bombs and stuff to make sure that like to help you win.
Absolutely. So, which is really cool because it makes you feel like a freaking Witcher when you beat them. You're like, yes. I was equipped. I used the right equipment. I parried enough and I used the right attacks with the right weapons. And I was able to beat them. Just like Geralt has a very hard time walking into a situation that he is not prepared for. And if he's prepared, then he's got a fighting chance. And that's what this feels like, which is really cool.
Yeah. And then there's the equipment there's a selection of various Witcher school armors and weapons and things. And I'm not entirely sure. We're still not too far along. It's only been a week and it's been like a busy week for me. I haven't really had time to play as much as I want to, although I think I'm almost level 7 still. Tom's at level 9.
That's because I live on a monster nest.
Yeah, he lives on a monster nest. But some of the stuff, like those things in the store are really expensive though.
Yeah.
Like each one of those like armors or swords is like $50 worth of like actual money,
like
if
gold.
You were like to spend actual money on gold,
right?
Like that's how much you'd need. So I'm wondering if we're going to get like a way to earn those throughout the story, or if that's literally like this is our way of funding this like in-app purchases, which makes sense. I understand that in-app purchases, they got to fund the game somehow. So
yeah, I think it's a little of both. You get gold for doing some of the, what are they called? The like you've got these little goals that you can follow, these little quests, like craft 3 potions, and then you get like 50 gold for that. So the more you play, the more you share things with your friends, and then the more you use the things from your friends to do stuff, the more you unlock that stuff, and then the more gold you get, which eventually allows you to buy other things in the store without using real world money, which allows you to upgrade your Witcher gear, which allows you to fight bigger monsters, which gets you better stuff, and you go on bigger quests and so on. So that's the cycle. And that's what makes sense to me. But of course, if you want to shortcut that a little bit, you can spend some real world money and go, okay, well, I want the cool looking wolf armor. And so let's, pay however many dollars to just get it.
Yeah, and on the topic of like spending real world money, I did this, and this is actually like probably one of the better decisions I've made. I've been having an easier time since then. There is a $5 or $4.99 package that you can get. That's like a starter package for those people that are new at the game. Mm-hmm. And it comes with a silver sword.
Yes.
Like you don't start with a silver sword. You only start with steel, but you can,
I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera. It's too bright.
I can see $4.99, but I can't see anything else.
It's too bright. What if it darker?
But yeah, it comes with like a bunch of bombs and
you're just seeing like the reflection now.
I'm just
there it is.
Oh, sort of. Yeah.
Silver sword.
It's really blurry now.
Come on, camera. You can do it. But yes, it comes with a silver sword. It comes with, let's see, basic crafting station, summoning scrolls, ingredient scrolls, a bunch of potions, a bunch of oils, a bunch of different kinds of bombs. So for $5, it's pretty solid. Get you started.
And it gets you a silver sword. And for some of those enemies, you really gonna want it. It's hard to beat some of those guys without it. So
yep. Okay.
So just a note on the questing system, and I realize now that I just didn't look deeply. I can see that a little bit. Yeah. Witcher Silver Sword, basic crafting station, ×2 summoning scrolls.
This makes great audio. So we'll move on.
So I did the first quest, and I was at work because I was excited about it. So I really wanted to. Oh gosh.
There we go.
There you go. That's really good.
Okay.
But I lost my train of thought. You're distracted.
You were at work.
I was at work, and I got the first quest, and it was a little bit down the street. I guess it was like maybe a mile or something. Like I would definitely.
Did you just leave?
Wouldn't have want to. No, I was working. But I went.
See you guys later. I gotta go on a quest.
No,
I'll be back in like 15 minutes.
No, I got it, and I went back to work. I was like, man, I'll do that whenever I get off. So when I got off, I went over there, and they wanted me to find a monster, and the only the location that it was at was in someone's backyard. Mm-hmm. And the only way I would have been able to reach it is if I would have jumped the fence into their backyard. And
or knocked on their door.
I'm still not interested in doing that either. Like, I don't want to be like, sorry, there's this new app out. I got to kill a griffin in your backyard. Do you mind? No,
I'm hunting monsters. You're what? You have a monster in your backyard. I need to hunt it. Excuse me?
The easy way to get the cops called on me. For sure.
Right.
And then, so later I got a little notification. This was like 2 days later, and it told me, hey, you could relocate your quest if you want to. And I was like, yeah, I'd actually really like to. And I was at home at the time. So I did it. And it decided that I was to hunt the griffin at the intersection by my house for a busy highway.
Nice.
So no, thank you. I'm not going to do that. That's a good way for me to die. So I'm not interested in being arrested, or killed during these quests.
They never said being a Witcher was easy.
I understand that, but the Witchers also didn't do their job in as populated of areas most of the time.
That's true. Yes.
But I was eventually able to figure it out. And apparently you can relocate your quests whenever you want. I just hadn't looked into it. So if you just go into the journal and click on the quest, you can relocate it at any time, as long as you're not like too close to the current location.
That was my problem, is that I was too close, but I didn't want to have to go that far. And I was like, if I relocated, do I get it closer? Maybe? And it wouldn't let me do it. So I was like, all right.
So I eventually got that quest done. So, but don't do anything illegal or stupid playing this game, please.
Yes.
You're more important than killing monsters on a mobile game.
Right. And there's a warning that pops up every time you start it that says please follow COVID restrictions while in public. So yeah, don't do dumb things out in public.
Yeah. And so I saw an article today, and I haven't experienced this yet because I live in Texas, and for once we've gone multiple days without it raining, which is kind of surprising because we've been raining a crazy amount. So it's just been hot. So the weather's just been like hot, sunny weather. So I'm seeing the same things, but I assume that there's weather like variance. Like if it rains, you're going to see different kinds of things and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the article also specifically said that if you go to different types of like location environments, that you will see different monsters. So their example that they gave was that they went to a river and they started getting a lot of drowners spawning by the river. And I thought that was a really cool thing. Kind of sucks if you don't want to go anywhere, but I mean, it makes sense. And for like a realism effect for this like real-time game that they're doing, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, Jay Lonnie in chat says just like Pokemon Go. Yeah, there's certain kinds of Pokemon you can't get unless you go to certain locations. There's even Pokemon that are only in certain international locations as well, which is really interesting. So I don't know if they're going to do something that extensive, but it's cool. It makes sense. Like if you really want to collect the heads of everything and kill lots of different kinds of creatures, then you're going to have to go travel around. Yeah.
So in 2 notes, I forgot to write down. One is that you get your own dandelion. Like after you do the first quest, this guy decides that he's going to be your buddy, and he's basically Jaskier from the TV show. So if you want the real Witcher Geralt experience with an annoying guy talking to you all the time, this game has it. And I think that's kind of incredible.
Yeah, toss a coin to your Witcher. There you go.
Yeah, and then whenever you're in a car and you're playing, it will put you onto a horse. Like if you're just walking,
I haven't done this yet either.
But if you go into a car, it will put you on a horse because you're moving so fast, trying to like make sense of it. And I thought that was really cool too.
That's awesome. Can the horse be on top of a house? That would be even better because Roach gets on the weirdest places. Yeah, there's no houses on the thing.
I'm sure if there's a quest that you can find with a horse and just AR it and put it on top of a house and just take a picture. All right.
Yeah. First person to do that, send it to us, please.
We would love to see that. Post it in the Discord.
In the Discord.
So overall, I haven't had a lot of time to play it as much as I would want to, but from the stuff I've been playing so far, I've been enjoying it, and I'm off the next couple of days. So I definitely plan on taking a bit more of a deeper dive into it, hopefully getting to level 10 and maybe see what those weird tree looking things are. Cause there's weird tree things in places.
I haven't
you
seen
can't
the weird
interact with them. Yeah, they're like these like dead looking trees. I'm not even sure if they're trees. They just look like trees from.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You can't interact with them until you're like level 10 up.
I have blue bushes, like bushes with little blue flowers or berries or something.
Those are herbs. Like you can get herbs and roots off of those.
See, I haven't been out of the house much until today. So I don't see the tree stuff on mine though.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not like they seem like they're more set locations because like I passed by while I was driving down the street and I passed by it like 2 times on the way there and on the way back, and it was in the same spot. So I think it's kind of like equivalent to like the Pokestops or Pokemon gyms or something. Like maybe there's a real big boss monster in there that you can go fight, which is why you have to be level 10 or up. So I'm looking forward to figuring out what that is. And I will let the people know in the Discord
let those people
and on
know. Twitter
about it.
Yeah, I think there's a monster nest that's just like a block north of me. So monsters keep on like wandering over to where I am at. So this is cool. Yeah. So overall, I think it's a good start to the game. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. If I was commuting back and forth to work, I would definitely be seeing more variety in what I see other than just, around my neighborhood. But yeah, it seems cool. You give it a thumbs up so far?
Yeah.
1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up.
Well, I'll give it a 1 for now. We'll see about the other things that I haven't gotten to mess with yet. And I might get a 2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah, 3 monster heads and 2 thumbs, something like that. Sounds good. All right, cool. Well, tell you what, let's go to the middle of the show because we need to talk about a trailer that came out recently. And then we'll be back for the second half of the show talking about the School of the Wolf.
Very well. Let us get this over with. Something has infested my vineyard.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let me go prepare my something oil then.
Oh, and you know what else, Toasty? We need to talk to people about the reviews because I believe I got another 2 reviews in?
Yeah, I put that on there. I saw 2 of them, and I wasn't sure if any of the international ones that I can't see, but you can. So I just, we definitely got 2 more.
Got 2 more. Do you have them ready to go? Ready to read?
Yeah, they're up here if you want to read.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Let's say thanks to our friends.
All right. So the first one, great podcast for any Witcher fan, 5 stars by Ben of Temeria. I've been a Witcher. I've been a Witcher ever since The Witcher launched on PC. So he is a Witcher. We're getting the thumbs up from a Witcher.
There you go.
A real Witcher, Tom. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
If you're a casual fan or a diehard fan like myself, you will enjoy all things Witcher in this podcast. The history/lore of this universe is great. I hope anyone who finds this podcast take a listen.
Sweet. Thank you, Ben of Temeria.
That's awesome. And then another review that we got, The Right Guys for the Job, 5 stars by Jay Gainsey. So hosts, Robot, and Toaster do a great job going through all aspects of The Witcher while keeping up to date with anything new going on with the TV show and video games. Their other shows are great too, but this is by far my favorite franchise they've taken on to date. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Jay Gainsey.
Thank you, Jay Gainsey. Good job, Toaster. So we actually do have another one from our friend over in Great Britain, which is awesome. This just popped up right now. I looked yesterday, didn't see anything else new other than the 2 that you mentioned, but this one just popped up on my thing. It looks like it was left on the 22nd. Sometimes there's a delay for the reporting for this stuff. And this is from Jack W94. And Jack says, happy Geralt. 5 stars. I absolutely love this podcast. I've played all the games and read all the books and didn't realize how much extra lore there was about the world of The Witcher. Tom and Toasty, he spelled your name with a Y, are great hosts, and Toasty with an IE has great knowledge on the subject. 10 out of 10 would recommend to a friend. P.S. Listen to this podcast to understand the Toasty EY spellings. Winky face. Thank you, Jack. That was awesome.
He just did all of them right there. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Jack, but I have a new official spelling because people decided to play with it. And so I was like, well, what's the most extreme that I can go here? So Toasty is now officially going to be spelled TEAUXSTEA.
Yep. Yeah. Last night we were recording the Cyberpunk Lorecast and the Mass Effect Lorecast patron episodes, which Toasty is a part of. And it devolved into Toes, TOES -TEA. And then Toasty has now evolved that into something else. So, but thank you to each of you guys for taking the time to leave us a rating and a review. It really does help let people know what to expect on the show and gives them, some social proof that, hey, this is something worth checking out. And this is what you're going to get if you listen to it. So that's very, very helpful. Also, any of you who have shared this with your friends, told other people that they should listen to it, retweeted things or shared things on social media, any of that stuff, super, super helpful. Thank you so much. We really depend on you guys to help spread the word, and you guys have been awesome. So thank you for helping us out with that. All right, let's talk about this new trailer we got. Toasty. I don't know how to say it in a French way. Toasty. Oh, toasty.
Why is that the thing for French though? Like, because I feel bad for that, but you always have to do the and that helps you get into that French accent for some reason.
Yeah, it's the Pepe Le Pew effect, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we got a new trailer for The Nightmare of the Wolf. This is the anime movie on Netflix featuring a young, handsome, sexy-looking Vesemir.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about this?
So I thought it was cool. It hit me like an action movie trailer.
Yeah.
Like everything because everything was like super high intense with those small pauses for the comedic lines. Mm-hmm. But then like they lined up all the hits with like the beats, like the heavy beats from the music or whatever. So like you got like the do 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 do, and like there was a sword slash for each one of those beats.
Right. Do that again.
No.
Okay. How's that go?
I will not be peer pressured.
Do.
I
did it for you.
I did my best. Okay. And I just had a few notes, nothing like too crazy. One thing is that there's something that Vesemir appears to be reading at the very beginning, basically like trash talking witchers. And while I couldn't find a matching line from it, this might be from something known as the monstrum or description of the Witcher, which is something that anyone who's listened or read the books would be familiar with, because there's these little excerpts sometimes in between chapters, and occasionally we will get a description from this book, which basically is just a collection of anti-Witcher propaganda.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, and it sounded like it kind of lined up with that same like idea, because it was, talking about how witchers are nothing but thieves and rogues that only care about money. So
right,
it might be from that. I couldn't confirm it, but it seems like it might fit from that.
This is a thematic thing that happens in the writings and even the games, is that they like to tell the player or the reader all the terrible things that people say about witchers, and then they like to show you all the things that the witchers do that don't line up with the terrible things people say about witchers, or do line up with the terrible, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they take it further than just like, this is what people say about witchers, like in that kind of like a wink and a nod, sort of like, it's more than just this, guys, kind of way. So I bet that's a line we get early in like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, no, it's something I really enjoyed out of the books, because it kind of gives you that like world building effect of like other people's ideas and opinions and things that don't actually like go into the direct storyline. So I thought it was cool. The other thing is that right after this, we get like a little series of images of Vesemir looking like an absolute baller. Like this dude's rolling in money. And so I'm wondering,
he's
what
like
exactly
making it rain. He's not,
but like
he's
gold.
He's not. Yeah, he's like sending gold chips.
He's making it hail.
Yeah.
That was bad. Sorry. But anyways, so I'm wondering if it's just like, he's just really good. I know that he's really good at, obviously he's like 3 centuries old, just about, like he's been doing this a long time. I'm sure he's like super good at it. But I'm wondering if this means that maybe he was like greedy in his youth. If he's like a greedy witcher, and maybe like this excerpt that we got of like, witchers being nothing but rogues that care about money. I'm wondering if maybe that does apply to Vesemir, and maybe we're going to see like a storyline of him like maturing.
Yeah.
In that
That's
sense.
his vice. And we watch the character arc of him learning his lesson about that, and becoming more than just somebody who's good at a thing and does it makes lots of money for it. Learning that there's like a deeper meaning in life than just that.
Yeah. Because he seemed very cocky in this trailer. Maybe that was just me, but he did seem kind of like the cockiness of youth kind of thing. So. Oh,
absolutely. He's got this like, even the way they draw him, he's like this like handsome, like for a witcher, he's got swagger, and he's very handsome. And yes, Geralt has gotten more handsome in each of the, games as it moves forward, but traditionally in the books, he's not a handsome guy.
He's
like,
not.
He's an ugly dude, and he's got a lot of like flaws and imperfections, and battle scars and weird eyes, and like he's the kind of guy who walks into town and you kind of go, oh, probably shouldn't make eye contact with him. Not the kind of guy that you look at and go, hey, look at that hunk of meat, like, but this
Vesemir's hot. Vesemir's hot.
Yeah. And he's the kind of guy who knows it. He's the kind of guy who's got that, like, yeah, I got this, kind of attitude.
Which I guess kind of takes me into my next point, is the fact that Vesemir looks like a total badass in this trailer. Not only his attractiveness, but like we see a lot of sequences of him like doing like cool like anime dashes and jumps and things where he's like super mobile. There was like a part where he like bounces off a tree and then off of something else or something.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of like, because it's an anime, so this is definitely things you expect to see in an anime usually, like of this type. But I'm wondering what this exactly means for how he is, like if this was actually him back then, you know, if he was this mobile and like hit, I can't think of a good word for there. So
agile. Yeah, I get where you're going. The other thing I want to know, and I want to hear people's thoughts on this, is if you've watched any of the other anime stuff, specifically from Netflix, not just any anime, but like if you've specifically, I would compare this to, it has similarities with something like Castlevania, but I think I like this style better than what you see in Castlevania. I don't know if the frame rate is a little higher, or if there's something about the way they animate the fluidity of motion and things. And Castlevania is great. Like it looks
fluid.
It looks good.
Looks real fluid.
Like, and you get to a certain point in Castlevania where like they're battling monsters and stuff, and it's cool. This feels to me, at least from the trailer, like a step above that. There's something about it that is just a little bit more, I don't know, fluid is maybe the best word for it. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Like the animation was really top notch in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's pretty good looking. I mean, yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's our thoughts on it. And again, this comes out next month. So this is an August release. So
August 23rd.
23rd. Yeah. And we've got a few weeks to go before it actually comes out, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to share on the Robots Radio Discord or shoot us a message on Twitter and let us know your thoughts about the anime and the trailer and what you think might be coming, because, you know, maybe this is putting us in the wrong direction. Maybe things are going to be a little bit different. And I think Toasty's seeing ghosts right now. So we're going to move on to the rest of the show. Here we go.
You smell of death and destiny, heroics and heartbreak.
It's onion.
Right, yeah.
So, Toasty, we've talked a little bit about the schools of the Witchers because it was hard to discuss the origin of Witchers and the creation of Witchers without having to touch a little bit on the schools and the differences between the schools. But there's more to each school than just the things that we covered last time. And as we talked about before, the School of the Wolf that's the one that we're most familiar with. You know, when we play the games, when we read the books, Geralt is from the School of the Wolf, and the School of the Wolf also may be the one that is most in line with the original intent for the Witchers. Would you say that that's accurate?
I would agree. I would tend to agree on that one. Yes.
Okay. So what else do we know about the School of the Wolf? All
right. So this was, I know we said this in a previous episode, but the School of the Wolf was formed from the vestiges of the Order of the Witchers. So it was created when the remaining members of the Dead Order, at that point, the order was over. There was really nothing left except for these Witchers. And they left Morgrave Castle, which is where the Order of the Witchers was first established, and moved to settle in Morin Valley, where they settled at Kaer Morhen, which was constructed by some builders in the 11th century and then was just abandoned, or maybe they vanished. No one really knows, but they just found an abandoned Kaer Morhen and they were like, all right, we'll take it.
All right. Sounds good to me. Yeah, that's interesting. That's kind of a mysterious background to that.
Mm-hmm. And so we move on a little bit, basically to the golden era of the Witchers, where all the schools are like popping off, doing their jobs and treating people with respect. And so in the glory days of the Wolf School, it was highly recognized as a school of reliable and professional monster slayers. Like it was probably the most renowned Witcher school when they were at their like highest point. Even so much so that there's a legend that states that they hosted Count Esteril Tyson and his lover Agnes while they were hiding out from her enraged father because he was pissed that they wanted to be together.
That was nice of them.
They hosted a lord and his lady to hide. That's
I wonder if
pretty,
they got
like esteemed. Like, you know, they don't.
Yeah. I wonder if they got paid for that.
Oh, probably. I mean, he's a count. He's probably got money.
Right.
And that's really all that there is for the golden era of the Wolf School, because then we get to and this is a word that I had to look up, because they referred to this as the pogroms or the pogroms. Not entirely sure, but it just basically means massacres. So the second half of the 12th century, and we talked about this a little bit before, to where as the monsters started to like die off and there was less and less work for the Witchers, the mobs turned, propaganda started forming against the Witchers. They started being like framed or thought of as the monsters. And so the second half of the 12th century, we see an enraged mob led by mages and priests assault Kaer Morhen and massacre all of the Witchers that were present at the keep at the time. So all the Witchers that were there were killed.
That must have been quite the mob, because assaulting a bunch of Witchers in their own home, guarded and defending a keep, is no small task.
It's not. I mean, they did have mages there. It doesn't say how many mages were present, and mages can certainly contend with Witchers, especially with like the advantage of range. So
right. But yeah, that must have been quite the thing. Yeah, pogrom also typically it means massacre, but it also often is referred to in a sense of like a genocide against a specific people group. So that's why
that's what this is.
Yeah, that's why this would make sense for being against Witchers.
Mm-hmm. So for some time since then, words are hard. The schools of the wolf and the cat were funded by Cadwini monarchs. That's a hard thing to say. So they were actually like being like paid by like kings and queens. Like they were like, okay, you do this stuff for us and we're just going to make sure that you're good. So they kind of get a bit of a resurgence here. The student exchanges took place and some older Witchers befriended each other, which from what we'd seen so far, the Witchers kind of passed by each other like on the path and, get like a nod of a fellow like worker, like in the same field of like a nod of respect, but they didn't really befriend each other.
Like Jeep drivers.
And we see this from the students, because most of the students didn't trust each other. I guess they're paranoid, and this often resulted in brawls and arguments. So this is from the wolf and the cat. They were being funded together, so they had to work together on things. And these are two separate Witcher schools, and this is about the closest any Witcher school got to another one, aside from like I said, earlier passing one by the path.
Right. This makes sense too, because I would imagine that they often saw each other as competitors. Like there's a limited market of monsters out there and people wanting to pay for monster hunters. So the first one to get the job and fulfill it gets the money, right? So yeah, they're going to be in competition unless they're being paid by the same monarch, who is removing the competition by saying, here, this is why I'm paying you. You guys go hunt this down. I don't care who does it, but work together, get it done. There's not going to be as much competition.
Yeah. And we'll see that this doesn't work out all that great. So King Radowid II, under the influence of his court mage, Astragarus, and other druids.
I am the wizard Astragarus. Yes, that's great.
Who was convinced that the revival of the Witcher schools was a threat to his rule, which is scary. Paranoid king, never want that.
Nope.
His manipulations made Master Trace of the Cats engage in a plot against the wolves. So he set the cats against the wolves.
Awesome.
And so he put together this Witcher tournament to where like they had like duels with each other, and kind of like a friendly sense. And during this tournament, the cats turned on the wolves and ambushed them and basically slaughtered a good majority of them, to which at that point, the king ordered his soldiers to kill the cats.
Oh, geez. So everybody goes down almost.
Yeah. So he uses the cats to thin the pool of Witchers and make it easier for his men to finish off the rest.
Wow.
And as we'll come into a bit later when we're talking about the the members of the School of the Wolf. This is a comic book thing that I have not read before. I believe this is from a comic book. This plot line is in this comic book, and Geralt's and some of his other Witcher brethren are actually present at this. So Geralt actually survives this somehow.
Like a young Geralt.
Yes. Right. So the current situation we're at now with the School of the Wolf is the last children were trained at Kaer Morhen in the 1230s. Knowledge about trials and mage assistance eventually vanished since then. Oh God, I put that terribly.
That's okay.
By the 1260s, the only living member of the old, quote, old pre-Pogrom Witchers of the Wolf was Vesemir. He's the only one that remains before the massacres, pretty much, or before the first one, the first massacre. He and a couple of younger ones spent winters in the keep, which we kind of see this a little bit in the games. You know, Witcher 3, you go and stay at the keep or he tells you he's gonna, head to the keep for winter. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much kept everyone out, especially the cats and the vipers, like members of the School of the Cat, the Viper. Mm-hmm. And they did invite Cohen, who was a member of the School of the Griffin. But they pretty much isolated themselves because they figured that was the safest thing for them to do.
That makes sense. This makes me wonder, with the movie, the anime coming out, if we're going to see any of this like pre-Pogrom or even some sort of build up to this, situation with the tournament and the wolves getting massacred. This might be the first of several movies, but a young Vesemir living long enough to start training, to get a little bit older, learn some life lessons, take somebody like Geralt under his shoulders, under his wings. That's the right phrase. Sorry, guys. My brain is not working great. I'm kind of sick today.
Same location, under a wing and a shoulder.
Yeah, wing and under your arms, in your armpits. But yeah, I could see this being like a really cool storyline that builds up to like cooperation between the wolves and the cats, and then eventually things fall apart, and like the way that the world has to deal with that. I like that storyline as a potential future, movies or shows or whatever. I think that's a really cool idea.
I think this would have to be a build up because based on the amount of money that you see Vesemir having in this trailer, I think this is sometime during the golden age, where all the schools are booming and there's tons of monsters to fight. It seems like that's about the time period, and it's a while after that when these massacres happen. So, but maybe we'll see the buildup or something.
The beginning of the movement towards that.
Maybe the beginning of the propaganda. I mean, we saw that one thing. That's it seems like that's where the propaganda is starting. So maybe it's right there at the cusp. So
yeah, who's to say if this movie does well that they don't do a sequel and continue the story and then like draw things out, or that this storyline doesn't play into the other Witcher show that they're doing that takes place before the time of Geralt. We might see some of that stuff too. So that could be really cool.
So in the early 1270s, and we're starting to get into the games at this point, we see the ultimate downfall of the school after it suffers the attacks from the Salamandra, which if you played The Witcher 1, that's the prologue, essentially.
That's the assault at the beginning of the game, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the Salamandra attacking. And then in The Witcher 3, the attack from the Wild Hunt.
Yeah. And cool stuff.
And we see that at that point, Kaer Morhen, not safe anymore. Too many enemies seem to know where it's at. So,
right. Yeah. That also opens up questions for what happens if we continue the story of The Witcher after The Witcher 3, how does that move forward? Man, this universe is so good. There's so much opportunity for more stories and things. So Toasty, you've also put together a list of all the known members of the School of the Wolf, and we're gonna wrap up this episode by quickly going through this list. We've only got a few minutes left, but I want to see if we can knock all these out as fast as we can.
do we want to go like a back and forth thing, or do you just want to do it?
Yeah. Let's just go back and forth.
Okay, well, I'll start us off with Adon of Carreras, who was a Witcher who was sent by Vesemir to Beauclair to forge Grandmaster Wolfgear. And when he couldn't afford it with the money he was given, he had to find work and help out some like scholars go into a cave and escort them through the cave. And they were pursued by monsters. And as they were fleeing, he made the ultimate sacrifice to protect the scholars and allow them to get out and collapse the cave.
He held the door.
Very heroic. Yes. Actually, that's a really good call there.
This is Hodor Adon of Carreras.
Yeah. He was probably the most heroic Witcher I've ever heard of besides Geralt. So
wow. So the next one, this is alphabetical. So there's a Witcher known as Aubrey, who was a member of Geralt's generation, and he was killed during the tournament massacre, which we just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. We got Barman, who was a previous leader of the Wolf School. He took the role of Vesemir's teacher and likely died during the assaults on Kaer Morhen by that angry mob with the priests.
And then there's Berengar, present in The Witcher 1. He leaves Kaer Morhen because of his disdain for Witchers. Geralt finds him later and can choose to kill or spare him, although if spared, he is killed during the fight with Azar Javid. Javid? It's probably Javid.
Javid, probably. We got Elgar, a legendary Witcher who actually made the diagrams for Wolf School gear.
That's
so
cool.
Kind of cool guy there.
Yep. And then there's Eskel, which should sound familiar if you played the games. Renowned Witcher and brother, not literally, to Geralt. I think Toasty wrote these, and you say, I think he deserves his own episode in the future. So yeah, absolutely.
He's one of the real prominent ones. So I think some of these bigger names get their own episodes here. So
yeah, totally. I like this next one.
We have Frank, and whenever I looked them up, like on the wiki, it literally said a member of a trainee from the Wolf School. That was his description.
Sweet.
So I put random trainee, and his name is Frank, which I kind of think is hilarious. I feel like that's a great name for just a random. So,
welcome to the inn, Witcher. What's your drink? What name do you go by? I'm Frank the Witcher. Like, all right, have a seat. Then we have Gardus, random Witcher. This is just another name.
Also, his description was Witcher of the School of the Wolf. So we had a trainee, we had a Witcher. So there's two guys who are not important in any way.
And then a very important one comes up next.
So we have Geralt of Rivia. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but I'm pretty sure we all have. And I think it goes without saying that he's going to get his own episode, maybe more than one.
Probably more than one. The butcher of the wolf,
Blaviken.
The white Blaviken. He's got nicknames. He's got all sorts of nicknames. Then we have Gweld, Geralt's best friend through training. He trained with and fought on the side of the cats during the tournament, had to duel with Geralt and was magically forced to attack him, and Geralt was forced to kill him in self-defense. Total bummer.
Yeah, and this isn't, he didn't choose, they just had an uneven numbers during this tournament. So they sent him over to like train, but he was a spy because they didn't trust the cats. So he was spying on the cats. But It wasn't the cats that you you shouldn't have trusted the cats, but it was overall the leadership that was the worst. Then we have Gwyn. This was basically, there was like no description on this guy other than he participated in the crossbow deflection practices and did not succeed very well. So he's bad at deflecting crossbow bolts.
That may have been the last note about this Witcher ever.
He didn't die from it, but they were blunt crossbow bolts.
Oh, okay.
But he had to go to the infirmary. So he still messed up real bad.
Oh, that's no good. Then we have Hemmings, also bad at deflecting crossbow bolts. He died during the tournament massacre. Poor man, these poor guys.
They went to the infirmary together. And we got Lambert. You may have heard of this guy before. Also brother to Geralt, not literally. The Witcher with a quick, witty tongue. Definitely has the most quips in the game. Mm-hmm. And will also be getting his own episode in the future, probably.
Kind of a smart ass. Yeah, totally.
Oh, Kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was understated yes, absolutely. Then we have Leo, a young Witcher trainee who was never subjected to the mutagens. He was killed during the Salamandra assault on Kaer Morhen, which takes place, of course, during the prologue of The Witcher 1.
Then we have Olak of Bon Glean. And I wrote his name twice.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Yes. Also known as Olak. Was a Witcher from the School of the Wolf. He was famous for killing a demon terrorizing Elander.
All right. Then we've got Osbert, Witcher instructor, taught many, including Geralt.
Then we have Ramus, which I believe was a werewolf. Oh, wait, wrong universe. No.
I see what you did there.
He was a wolf, though. And I was actually surprised to see this so this is the Witcher that we see in the Striga episode of the Netflix series, the one that died. And I could have sworn up and down, left and right, that he was a cat. I thought that was a cat medallion. And then I looked back and watched, I was like, that was a wolf medallion. At what point did I think that was a cat? So he was of the School of the Wolf.
Yeah.
He was hired by the Miners Guild of Temeria to eliminate the monster reported to run havoc across the country, mistakenly assuming that he was facing a Vukudlak instead of a Striga. He was badly prepared and died during the hunt.
Yeah, that's a total bummer there. Next up, Renz, one of the leaders of the Wolf School. That's all we know about Renz.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Tjold. I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's actually one thing I know. Another victim of the tournament massacre. A lot of Witchers died during this.
Mm-hmm. And then Varen, seen during the lamp scenes in The Witcher 3, likely died during the massacre of Kaer Morhen.
Then we have someone else you may have heard of, Vesemir. He needs no explanation, but he will be getting one fairly soon.
All right. And then Voltaire, not Voltaire.
That's a cool name.
Voltaire, Volthere, undertook the trial of the medallion with Lambert, but was slain by the Cyclops, Old Speartip.
We talked about Tom's favorite Cyclops.
Man, Old Speartip. That's such a good name.
Yeah. And then we have Dagobert Sola, who was not a Witcher, but a mage that helped the School of the Wolf. Infamous renegade mage who supervised the trial of the grasses for the Wolf School. He also created the first Frightener, which if you played The Witcher 1, that is that creepy praying mantis monster thing that bashes through the walls for the Salamandra. And I'm like, dude, why?
Why did you make those? That's not a good idea.
Those are terrifying.
Dagobert, bad idea.
Bad idea.
Then we've got Cohen, member of the School of the Griffin. Cohen.
Yeah, sorry.
Cohen.
There's a weird 2 dots above the E that they're supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's hard to type. Yeah, who knows how to do those? Member of the School of the Griffin, but trusted enough to be allowed to stay at Kaer Morhen. He was present during Ciri's training, died participating during the Second Northern War.
And last but not least, we have... what's the whole name? I got to look up the whole name.
Oh yeah, you got to do the whole name.
I got to do the whole idea.
Yeah, you guys know where we're going with this.
We got Cyrilla Fiona Ellen Rhiannon, who is not important in any way, and we'll never talk about her again. Just kidding.
That's probably the most important character in everything.
Yeah. It's you could arguably say that she's the main character of the book series or just the entire series. So we'll definitely be talking about her later on, probably multiple times, same along with Carol. So,
Yep. All right. Well, that was fun. This is a really cool list. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about the School of the Wolf. Toasty, where are we going next week?
I kind of want to continue this conversation that we're having, talking about the different schools and things. And I think based on all the things we heard, I think the best school to talk about it would be the School of the Cat.
Yeah.
Since a lot of their stuff was really intermingled with the School of the Wolf. And depending, because obviously the School of the Wolf's going to have a lot of information. It's the most well-known, I think, out of all the schools. So I may tack on another school if it's not enough.
We'll see how much there is to cover. As with any of these episodes, we always want to make sure that we, give you enough content, but we've also run right up against the Xbox Game Pass show, so we can't go too long. So, we're trying to figure out that balance. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We also had a request last night, actually. Somebody was like, hey, when are you guys going to do a Patreon? Because some of the listeners on some of the other shows some of our friends from the other shows were like, hey, I want to help support the Witcher Lorecast, and I'd love to get on an episode and chat with you guys, because some of the other Lorecast shows, we have different Patreon tiers, and at tier 4 or higher, you can actually join us at the end of every month and chat with us about the lore, the topics, whatever. And the patrons often get a chance to kind of chime in and say what they want to talk about. So if you've ever wanted to be on a podcast, that might be something we're going to set up soon. So Toasty and I are going to work on this week. We might have a Patreon set up next week with a bunch of different tiers and different rewards and things that you guys can get. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's all we got for this week, Toasty. You have anything else to share before we head out?
Just the usual stuff. Join the Robots Radio Discord. We like to have discussions over there about all kinds of games, but especially The Witcher. A lot of us are sharing our codes in there as well for the Monster Slayers. So if you're looking to add some friends in there, definitely hop in there. There's probably like 6, 7, 8 of us. I don't know how many that have shared our codes in there and all are adding each other. And follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast, and follow, if you want to follow me specifically on Twitter, I'm at So Thanatoasted, all capitalized.
All capitalized. And I am at robots_radio, which is me and also the network. So you can follow us there. This is a really cool recommendation. MK10 Gamer in chat says tiers as the schools. So like tier 1 would be a certain school of The Witcher. Tier 2 would be another school of The Witcher. Or we could do tiers.
I don't want to upset people, because some people may have like more preferred schools,
Right, that's true. Or we could do tiers as like different like kinds of people, like farmer would be like bottom tier, but then eventually you could become like a witcher or a mage or
bard, like Dandelion.
A bard. Yeah, like you could be like farmer, bard, witcher, mage.
I mean, I got an idea.
Ciri would be like the top one.
I got an idea for the top one, actually, just because it just sounds cool. It sounds the coolest. I just want to name it the Butcher of Blaviken.
The top tier, you are the Butcher of Blaviken.
Yes. Yeah. It just sounds so cool to me.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. Yeah. Well, if you have any other ideas about this stuff, please let us know. We'd love to chat with you guys about this stuff. And who knows, maybe somebody's going to come up with a really, really cool idea. And we can work it in. Also, let us know if there are certain rewards that you guys would be interested in, because we'd love to be able to give you the things that you want in order to, say thank you for helping to support the show. So,
sure. And stick around for the Xbox Game Pass show that's coming up. 20 minutes?
In about 20 minutes. Yeah, we'll be talking about some of the new games on the Xbox Game Pass and some other news about video games, about Vigi games. So if you like Vigi games and you want people to play Vigi games with, then that's a great show to listen to, because there's a whole group of us that get together called the Xbox Game Pass Gang. And you don't even have to have Xbox Game Pass. You just have to play the games and you can join us. Even if they're cross-platform, you can even be on other platforms. We don't care. We just want to play games together. So also, thank you, everybody who joined us for the live chat. I would love to keep increasing the number of live viewers we have, because I love the commentary. Even if I can't point it out or respond right away as we're doing the show, I love being able to read it and see what your thoughts are live. So thank you for being here, everybody. All right. We'll be back with another episode of the Witcher Lorecast next week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in about 20 minutes with the Xbox Game Pass show. See you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Witcher Lorecast. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the games and the books and the TV series and all your thoughts on everything. Please check out the Robots Radio Discord and follow us on Twitter at Witcher Lorecast.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.